We are backstage right now. We will be live on River West Radio in just about 15 seconds. Welcome to AbilityMKE Now. My name is Sue Roskoff, and AbilityMKE Now is a show all about integration, bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities, and here at AbilityMKE Now, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities. The concept of disability, it's a wide range of possibilities. We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, mental health diagnosis, goals of substance use reduction, and the list goes on. We all have our own experience with disability, whether it's our own or with people we know or with people we encounter in our everyday lives. Here at AbilityMKE Now, we break down the barriers and celebrate the ability in all of us. In that exact frame of mind here, with celebrating the ability in all of us and integration, bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. You know what? There was a really, really big thing that happened today in the Milwaukee area. So if you have not heard about this yet, Moss Universal Ability Park had its groundbreaking dedication today. Today, actually, what is today? Today is July 26, 2023. Today is the anniversary date of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So that was signed into law exactly 33 years ago today. This is the anniversary of that. And what a better way to celebrate that milestone in our country's history than to have something as massive as this beautiful 18-acre park located in Milwaukee area here. It's the address is 10300 West Wisconsin Avenue. So it's just over in Tosa, kind of near the zoo interchange. Moss Universal Ability Park. There was a groundbreaking ceremony that took place earlier today, and we are very lucky to have Kurt and our daughter Alana both attending that event today. So I want to bring Kurt in to the conversation here. I want to find out firsthand from Kurt what all happened there today. Can you share with us a little bit about what your experience was? What did you see there? I know you had a little bit of challenge with the weather. It was not as lovely as it could have been. There's a little bit of rain that came in and interrupted the celebration a bit, but I know that the celebration still took place. And from what I understand, there were a lot of people in attendance. There were speakers. There were all sorts of things that happened there. Could you tell us more about what was your experience? What did you see today?
Yeah, I don't know what their attendance was, but just give you an idea, I'm pretty confident that they had at least a couple hundred people there. Beyond that, what it was, I don't know what the number really was, but they had one tent with, a bunch of picnic tables set up for where everybody was sitting, enjoying their food. And, having a dozen picnic tables wasn't even close to being able to accommodate. So there was like a few rotations of people coming in and out to eat. There's a great program by the dignitaries of the park system and, with legislators and so forth, and with some other key folks that are with the Ability Center and with Damien, obviously. Damien talked about how, when we reflect on this, the stuff that we celebrated today as far as the Universal Park is something that should have been done 30 years ago. And it's not, a unique thing to Milwaukee. It's something where we're celebrating what Milwaukee is doing, because now the challenge is on for another city in the country to rival what Milwaukee is doing. And Damien puts it that, it'll be great when that happens, but then it's going to follow that. is that Damien's going to reclaim the trophy. So the idea is that when somebody in another part of the country sets the bar higher, Damien's going to come in and say this is going to be a continual process of setting the bar higher. And he gave very specific examples about how he's getting direct inputs from groups of people from the different facilities and services, and they're making plans in the park based on what significant numbers of people are saying, and it's new insights. The idea is to build an inclusive park, and then to say for some for park users on the spectrum and so forth, with the different considerations of whatever a person's diagnosis is, there was a learning process that there are risk issues, safety issues for if certain individuals are kind of put in this design of intermingling with others. So what they're doing is they're going to have a specialty area. So for folks in these demographics, that they're going to feel a little safer because they're in there with their peers, and all of those patrons of the park are dealing with the same considerations of safety. So it's really neat to have known Damien for the time that we have and learned from him in the last decade what we have, then to be in an event like today and still learning more. So I think that's the key here is this is just a provocation of provoking people to participate in this process. That there's a lot of work to be done. I forget to be saying like 45% of the way there financially. So it's something where, I was just looking at a post that he had yesterday about today's event, and it was calling upon people to support financially the Ability Center. So it's to share that, it's leadership leading the way, and the milestone with the Americans with Disabilities Act, is there today. So it's just kind of, a benchmark, or it's a point of progress, but the challenge is still widely still there. And so it's just neat to see that, administrators of the parks here in Milwaukee are on board, and there's corporate support, and that all of this is happening and in place. And we know Damien has been working on this for say 15 years or whatever the correct number of years are. So this is where the Ability Center could have been, in place, and we could be using the Ability Center as a multi-million-dollar facility, but we didn't break ground on that today. But the idea is we broke ground on that. We have a park in Milwaukee, kind of starting this process with Milwaukee Parks, where this idea of universal parks is a commitment, by Milwaukee, and just to have it so officially adopted and the proclamations are made and so on and so forth, city and county and whatever, at the state level. We were talking to staffers at, the offices of assembly people at the Capitol, Madison, Wisconsin State Capitol, and then some interns. And so it's just really neat to hear directly that what happened today, there were people at this event that would not as much, been a part of it if it weren't for today's exact event, much less the general work being done by, city, county, parks, Ability Center, and all that. And even a simple thing, we had Action Track Chair represented today, and Accessibility Wisconsin, and talking to the staffer at a legislative office and asking if they knew what an Action Track Chair is. And the response is that, heard about it, got a little bit of an idea, like a commercial. I'm going to say it sounded to me like a commercial idea, but just real no working knowledge of an Action Track Chair. And so, with the idea of how Action Track Chairs are empowering people with disabilities to get out in the wilderness, it kind of was, an additive element that they had at the event today. So the collaborations continue, the community success is growing, and it's going to be exciting to see kind of what the rest of 2023 holds for the parks issue and what it spawns other places around Milwaukee.
Excellent, because this universal park is just what it sounds like. It is built and intended for literally everybody, no matter your age, no matter your ability, no matter your how you get around, whether you walk, whether you roll, whatever it is, the park is accessible to literally everyone. And I am so excited to see what it's going to look like when it all is in place. I know there's different places online where you can see different kinds of renderings and what the plans are for where it's going. And I heard similar that they are well underway with the fundraising for this, and that things are moving forward, moving in the right direction. And that I believe what I was reading was that this first phase of the project should be done sometime next summer. And like I said, I wish I could have been there to see this in person. What was the feeling that you were getting from people around that you saw and that you talked to? Was there kind of I'm just picturing something of an electric buzz going on, of excitement of what is yet to come? Is that kind of what that feel was today? Granted that everyone was getting a little wet with the rain, but as much as the excitement that there can be with that many people there, I could only imagine.
Yeah, well, I mean, it worked out okay because during their program, they were able to get their program in without too much of rain to worry about. It was more when people were ready to eat, or, halfway through the tour that Damien gave, but it was really neat to hear feedback about Damien and his tenacity and, kind of the fire in his belly, and, just kind of that part that he spoke to himself that I was saying about that he would just reclaim the trophy. He at one point said that if this Tom had, kind of said no to what he was proposing, it would have been like, well, watch me do it anyway and arrest me if you need to arrest me, because, Damien's just showing his conviction and, that he is compelled to do this. And, he keeps referring back to his survival of his rare cancer. And he keeps giving praise to the doctor, the surgeon that made it possible, and kind of how there's a community in this, that there's, going to be future people walking out of the surgical facility and, lives being saved. And so really speaking to, the past, the present, the future, and, just, jaws dropping, and, the cameras were there. I saw a CBS, camera there, and I don't know what the other networks were there. I know that the legislative office that I was sitting with was taking footage, and so this is I hate to say it, there's this expression is spreading like wildflower or wildfire, but I subscribe to it. Some people are saying spreading like wildflowers, and but I did want to say that this is like a fire starter, that as much as there's many years behind how we get to this point, there definitely is something to this milestone. So July 26, 2023 is definitely in the history books as a very significant day for the world. It's really going to, be cultivated through Milwaukee. It's a Milwaukee born initiative. Obviously, Damien's traveled around and, done his research, and players in this from other parts of the country. When the Ability Center is built, it'll be a facility to take in travelers around the nation, wherever people want to come from around the world. It'll be interesting to see what the future of that is, to get the multi-million dollars that it'll take to get this athletic facility done. But right now they're working on finishing the funding on the park project, which takes us through the year. And, we're inspired in this AbilityMKE Now crew here to, kind of reinvigorate Global Ability Fest with Milwaukee World Festival Inc. We already had a meeting with Independence First and such like that. So, I refer to these other references because you're asking, like, what was the feel of the event? Well, we had one of our friends there from the dairy that we know. He's not really from this event, but we know him through the biking, the hand cycling and so forth, the Dairyland bike tour or whatever it is that we went to in Waukesha. He was there. And, so I just was seeing a lot of homes, and like, if I say like the cycling community, we had the action track chair. I think it's just been something long awaited for. We did with Damien Ability Fest in South Milwaukee at Grand Park at the Willoway Center, and he brought out the wheelchair, sports wheelchairs and so forth. So we know directly the power of when you get Milwaukeeans together to celebrate like ADA, like it was back for us in 2015 at this Grand Park example, and kind of how it really sends people away with this optimism and this faith and this trust and this devotion, and it gets their minds focused on what can be. Because sometimes when we're at home, we may be wondering, like, what does Milwaukee have to offer us? But then when we get out there and we're seeing the parks officially saying, yes, we're going to make parks work better for each individual within the homes of Milwaukee. I mean, that it's just powerful to just see this happening. It is history in the making, for sure.
And we are incredibly blessed that is something that is here within our grasp. It's local. It's right here, literally in our backyard. So I can only hope that this does spread, like what that hope is, that other communities across the nation will follow suit and we'll see what's possible. And again, like what you're saying, Damien said, as far as when the next city will take it up a notch and have something more, I mean, the more minds that get around it, the more creative and the more ideas that there will be for what is possible within this type of a setting, for a park, for a facility, for whatever it may be. I'm excited to see where this is going to go in the next decade. When you think back over the last 10 years and how far the concept has come, and that it has reached this point where now there will be this park, this universally accessible park, that it's almost a funny thing to think that it is such a big deal, because it should have just been always what's been available, and it hasn't been. I mean, parks are wonderful. We have so many wonderful places around, but that this type of facility will be now here and truly accessible for everyone is amazing. Because the importance of activity, I mean, people do need to have activity in their life, physical activity, something to get moving. I mean, we do the 12 o'clock shakedown every day. That's something that literally is just to get your body moving, whatever that means. It's you adapt it to what you need it to be. But that's something where there is a group of us that get together on Zoom, or it can be watched on Facebook as well. It's accessible in both places, where it's activity. It's 15 minutes of music in motion, something super simple. And we love that it is possible that we have that, and that we're able to participate with that. And it's something, to me, it goes hand in hand with what this park is. The idea of activity, the idea of movement, of health, of what we should all be doing to take care of ourselves. That is so important. And if something like this universal park actually can be that inspiration, even for somebody to take that step out their door that they don't go to the park normally because there's not that much available for them to utilize. Well, with this new concept, perhaps that's a whole new beginning for so many that are local here. I know they were throwing some statistics out there of how how many people in the Milwaukee area have a disability of some sort. I even saw one of the stats was that 2 out of every 7 homes in the Milwaukee area have somebody that has a disability. So when you think about where your house is and all the neighboring homes around you, at least one of them has somebody that has a disability, just on average. That's a lot. I mean, really, think about that number. That's incredible, isn't it? I mean, down the road from me, there is a park. It works for most everybody, but I know not everything in the park is going to be something that everybody can utilize. And that's where I am so excited to see what all is going to be available at this new park, because it's perfect. It's what is needed. So as far as, I can't let this episode go by without having a moment to think back to this past weekend too. So I know we've been talking about the parks, talking about activity, and our favorite activity, right? If you've ever heard us talk at all, you know that we're a water skiing family. And this past weekend was the Wisconsin State Water Ski Tournament. It is the biggest show ski tournament in the entire world. So it's crazy to have as much water skiing taking place over the course of 4 days as what there is. So it's literally back-to-back ski shows for 3 straight days. The first day of the tournament is individual competition. But the part that I'm most excited about is what happened on Friday. We have a group that got together, as we have been traditionally now for several years, and did some adaptive water skiing. Again, one of our favorite summer activities here. We get together, we do adaptive water skiing with some folks that are local in the Wisconsin Rapids area. And you know what? It's not just those that are local anymore, because there's even one of our longtime participants has now moved up way up north. And you know what? They drove 3 hours to come and ski with us, because it's such a great activity. It is something that is looked forward to every year. And again, we were so lucky to have that opportunity, and the beautiful weather. Oh my goodness, Mother Nature is smiling on us this year, that we've had such perfect weather for what we've been doing. And we got to see, like I said, see some of our favorite people back at the tournament again, and had that chance to do some more adaptive skiing. Kurt, I want to bring you back in as well. I know we always look forward to this every year. Anything in particular as a fun story that stood out for you this year, or was it just that reconnection with people that we've gotten to get to know so well over the years? Do you have anything that you want to share and add to that?
Well, really, the state tournament is something where for us it's getting to be a routine to go up there to do several hours of taking people with disabilities water skiing. There's the teams competing, and we have the camping, and there's a little marketplace there where the vendors are selling their apparel or ski equipment and so forth. We're seeing this Mark, who's a character who does the broadcasting. So there's the live streaming, social media. I'm seeing the particular detail in the event, showing some constant work, some taking advantage of new opportunities. People obviously have their heart in this thing. We've enjoyed the concessions, the aqua skiers hosting the event, and the dynamic of when the teams are set up with their equipment in the in the equipment areas where there's a few lanes of where these teams come up. So it's the one on doing the show, the one on deck, and then the one in the hole, as they say in baseball, and so forth. And the teams cheering and rooting for each other. When great things are happening on the water, the fans are cheering just because in the sport of show skiing, it's just, they're just seeing something go great out on the water. We're seeing 6 people circle around a boat, double top, 4 highs, phenomenal jumping, acrobatic stunts. And, it's just really a recipe of, a wonderful 4 days. And yeah, the friendships that are there, referring to the International Wakeboard and Water Ski Federation, to just really allude to that we're part of a global family that really are enthusiasts in the sport of water skiing, a lot of leadership, to see people on stage, people willing to, and, subject themselves to humility, to, win awards in comedy. And, it's just something we've fallen in love with. And then, the community of Wisconsin Rapids. And so on a tourist level, social service level, a nonprofit, athletics, just the engineering success with all the different types of motors and the engine work in there, and the shared knowledge and competency of what we do, for our Roscoff family. It's a little bit of old hat because we've been coming to this tournament for a decade. I started going to it, 35 years ago, and all kinds of stuff. So just, a lot to be said about it. But in terms of particularly for this year, I just think it's just really a sense of, again, with the new people involved, and like the whole post-COVID thing, and just really imbibing in how we've got a wonderful thing going, the merchandising with the, the t-shirts and the stuff that they have to, to offer for the event itself. And then just talking to somebody local that came to us with the adaptive about why they chose Lake Wazicha, that being a narrow lake, so kind of narrow and long, and how with show skiing that kind of creates an optical advantage, that every act that's out there when you're sitting on the bleachers or at Red Sands Beach, that it's just really like right there, right at you, and with the backdrop of the trees that aren't that far away on the other side of the waterway. Just a real ideal setting, and just the weather, Mother Nature favoring the event. We had a little interruption there Saturday evening, but it all went really well. A wonderful event. 2023 Wisconsin Show Ski Championships, wonderful event. And it's unique things that, particulars this year that weren't as much there to talk about in past years.
And I was actually surprised when I heard when they did the awards on Sunday night. I just pulled up a couple of the statistics they mentioned that shocked me. Over the course of the entire tournament, there were 3,989 rides. So that many different people behind boats at different times. And out of all of those, there were only 3% of them actually fell. So water skiing is a hard sport. The things that they do, I mean, there's some things that aren't as hard, but when you're looking at, there's guys going over a jump on a single ski and flipping around in the air and doing all sorts of unique, crazy kind of things that are super amazing athletic ability. And to have only 3% of the entire tournament showing up as having any kind of falls, it was spectacular to be able to observe all this. And I always am just in awe that we're able to be even a small part of it with what we do with the adaptive skiing on the Friday of the tournament. So I'm already looking forward to next year and what we can do again back there. So with us here at AbilityMKE Now, Kurt, thank you so much for sharing all of what you saw and experienced today with that dedication of Moss Universal Park. It's going to be an amazing thing. I am so excited for Milwaukee. So for here with us at AbilityMKE Now, as always, we thank you.